is poetry?
Well, thank you very much. Basically, literature is any written art form on any particular specific or a given subject. For example, we can have science literature, math literature, we can have Arabic literature, we can have Greek literature, we can have Spanish literature. So it is also any art form that is being expressed with the use of language, either orally, verbally, or it is written. Basically, that is what literature is all about. Literature has three genres or three branches. Those branches are drama, prose, and poetry.
Let's talk on the poetry. We don't have much time.
Okay, so basically, poetry is the study of poems or the use of expressive language to express ideas in society. So the piece of writing itself is called a poem. The person who writes is called a poet.
For example, give me an example of a poem. just give me an example of a poem.
Do you hear the sound? Drop your ears to the ground. For the sound do abound. Do you hear the sound? Do you hear the sound of the songs of which our forefathers sang for us, as they were seated on logs of long ago? Do you hear the sound? Do you hear the sound of the footsteps of the scavengers as they parade over the horizons of Africa in search of souls to lord over? Do you hear the sound?
It's okay. This is powerful. How does it come to you? Is it like it comes naturally? Is poet learned or is natural? Okay, what's the difference between talent and skill? Is there any difference with regard to that?
Over the years, the dichotomy or the distinction that exists between these two are very narrow, and many people feel that they are the same.
Okay.
But somehow, I feel there is, yes, still a small difference. For example, talent is a natural, raw gifting that God gives out onto each and then every single person upon the face of this inhabited earth.
So
everybody has a talent. Okay. But the ability to then develop that raw talent, to refine it, to shape it, to fine-tune this raw talent, that it becomes perhaps a payable service for, is where it becomes a skill. Wow. So you move your talent, which is the raw gifting God has given you, you train on it, you work on it, then you bring it into a bigger world. That's where we say you have moved from talent into skill.
So that means when you start developing your talent into a skill, you start getting certain opportunities, certain platform to perform. Because once you start developing your talent into a skill, people will like it. So they'll give you the opportunity to perform it. I'm limiting it to the poetry. I want to know, how many years have you invested into this poetry thing we are talking of?
So perhaps this is where the ranging from talent into skill comes in. I have been doing poetry for like the past 15 years now.
Wow.
With these 15 years, perhaps 6 years of it have just been studying other people's works.
Wow.
You know, I have to make that. I study people like William Shakespeare, I study Godfrey Chaucer, Wole Soyinka, Chinua Achebe, name all the great poets around. I study all of their works. So at the point in time, I study them. Then I then have to separate myself a little to have a rethink of myself, move from just that normal talent into a skill. But I believe that in knowledge acquisition, there should be a time where you spend to gather the knowledge. At the time, you feed and then act upon the knowledge. Then at the time again, you give back to society how you got that particular knowledge.
How many stages, how many platforms have you ever performed on?
If my memory serves me right, I have performed on 1,001 stages.
Wow.
Yes, because if you even take a critical look for like the past 3 years now, I have jumped virtually on every big stage you can get, nationally and internationally.
Really?
I have the track record that, apart from Professor John Ivan Atamils of blessed memory, I have been privileged to perform before all the presidents in Ghana.
Wow.
J.J. Rawlings, John Jokum Kufuor, John Mahama, Akufo-Addo,
Wow.
Bawumia. I have met, these are people perhaps we know ourselves one-on-one, because I have performed in front of them, I have had handshakes.
So is it your certificate that sent you there, is the gift? Because I know there are people with certificate, they don't get this platform.
Well,
so is it your gift that sent you there, or is a certificate that sent you there? I want to understand, because many people confuse certificate with gift. I feel like certificate is how others, gift is from God. But certificate is somebody evaluation of you. So some people place more focus on somebody evaluation on them. So they are not able to reach that level they really want to reach. So I want to understand, is this certificate that let you get to this level, or is your gift?
Well, to me, it is more of the giftings rather than certificate. Because I believe that certification wouldn't perhaps have gotten me to the places where I am today. It is on the gifting, my own preparedness to work on that gifting, to move it beyond just a talent or something that I do as a hobby into a passion that perhaps is going to be paid for it in that particular regard. So it has been more of
the gifting,
the
and
giftings
the passion.
and the passion.
You know, somebody said that your gift is the pencil, education is the sharpener. So many people forget about the gift and focus on the sharpener. The purpose of education is to sharpen your gift.
More importantly, you see, people think that education is limited to the classroom education,
Formal,
which we are that normal thing. But education is far beyond that.
Okay.
The word education traces its root word to a Latin word called educere,
okay,
which originally means to nurture,
okay,
to grow, to mold, or to lead out.
Okay.
In our earlier speech, we said God has given everybody a talent.
Okay.
Now, that particular talent has to be led out. It has to be nurtured to grow. It's like a seed.
Okay.
Every seed has the potential to grow.
Okay.
But woe betides the seed that do not get water to be watered, somebody to clear around that seed, to make that particular seed get enough sunshine, go through the process of photosynthesis, get enough chlorophyll to be able to flourish very, very well.
Wow.
Even with the growth, you still see that some trees grow well than each other.
Wow.
Some say some trees produce 30 fruits, others produce 60, others produce 90, some trees still produce 100.
Wow.
It is all about the preparations that goes into the seed.
So the education is not limited to just being a classroom P1 to JSS, SS, and that's
I mean, that is what many people, but that is not just it.
Okay.
Perhaps with myself today, if it has been about the classroom, because my mates that I have gone to school with from P1 through to tertiary institutions, some of them are not able perhaps to do what I am doing today. It is not because I am better, but perhaps it is because I have to use that extra time to go into books, to also have societal knowledge, not just book knowledge. In fact, my grandmother used to say something that Kenambo Bambugo Agatapare school gara ekolabanye Bambugo. To mean that if you look for an illiterate and you bypass a scholar, you can get an illiterate again. But the scholar she's talking about here is somebody who has been to P1, gone to university, is something, because their mind are geared towards only functioning around formal education.
Wow.
But we bring them out of the box of society where learning still goes on. They are not necessarily able to function in it very well.
Let's go on a break and come back. Then I'll touch on certain key areas. What are the values